research. It's about experience, and then questioning, raising questions about the challenges of that. So do you see that I change the diapo this
Yes.
on the screen? Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we can see
Okay.
the next slide. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. So I want to talk a little bit of a history of midwifery and the context of practice, and then the training program that was chosen and that we actually do. What about the specificity of the profession, and then the notion of assessment, something that is quite invisible in midwifery practice, and the challenge of that. So if we can start, it's not long, but it's after 5 years of pilot projects in birthing centers in Quebec, and all were outside hospital. There was a legalization of midwifery profession in Quebec in 1999. So, and it was a profession distinct from nursing, and I say midwifery, and medicine. So, as a professional, midwives are not a kind of nurse and not a kind of doctors, and they were integrated in the public health care system. What is the context in social politics? But we are in an era of neoliberalism, of technical rationality, and healthcare system centers by hospital and doctors, and we have a culture of medicalization of maternity, childbirth, and women's health. If we want to know about technical rationality, is the centrality of procedures and protocols and guidelines, and it goes with the standardization of practices. So the problems usually are resolved by application of algorithms and techniques and recommendations. So a good action is determined before any situation and person. So an evidence-based practice is a known example of the technical rationality, but it's recognized too that it's not suitable for complexity, holism, and individual care. So there is an expectation to follow recommendations. It's the critics talk about the cookbook practice. So midwives in the reality of practice, they facing two important injunctions. First is following protocols and guidelines, but at the same time providing a woman-centered, individualized care. So evidently, there's tensions, ethical in the practice of midwifery. So with the legalization, there was a university chosen to formation of midwives. It's 4 years, and it's about being competent with knowledge, skill, attitude. And midwives are mostly student midwives are mostly learning in birthing centers with preceptors. We'll see that later. But and all birthing centers are outside hospital. And in the laws in Quebec, midwives are following the choice of women where they want to have the babies, either at home, birthing center, or in hospital. And so they are autonomous in all those three places. So when there's a midwife, they're following women, and then there's birth, but there's no need for doctor or nurse or something like that, unless there's a need for consultation or transfer of care. So at the time it started, there was a posture of the university, and there were choices done. First, the formation of student midwives was designed to be one-on-one with preceptorships, and not you go in a place where there's an obstetric and you learn, so it's not like that. And at first, we were talking about problem-based learning, but we decided to change from problem to situation-based learning, because for us it was an affirmation that pregnancy, childbirth, breastfeeding, postnatal were not problem, so we cannot teach how to be a midwife basing a different problem. So it was a situation-based learning, and so it's a posture of salutogenesis with the creation of health, and using meiotic, which is a pedagogy from Socrates. It's learning with questioning. And so it was about formation for relational practice, and about this strong posture with feminism, and taking the woman as the primary decision maker about her care, and what's her needs and values on that. So it says everywhere that midwifery is a unique profession. Okay, so what is that? About specificity. And so I want just to share with you a little bit about the research that was done recently in 2019 with midwives and with parents in Quebec about the specificity of the profession, because there was a need. It was asked, after 20 years, it was asked by the midwives, hey, what is it special about us, midwives? So there was the conception of the women, of birth, of health, and part of the results of that. And wisdom was proposed as a container of shared professional values. So there's a difference between the content of a profession and the container, from the form and the substance. And the substance, what gives meaning to the practice. So it goes beyond knowledge, skills, attitude. It goes beyond being respectful and compassionate. So what was, how can I say that? What was a name or say about the specificity of the midwifery practice? The people and midwives are talking about watchful waiting, quiet, alert state during the childbirth, the art of presence, the notion of guardianship, the notion of holding space for the woman and the family, and about the sacredness of birth and being conscious of that, about transformative processes, and helping by doing nothing. It's a real art of midwifery, and assuming uncertainty, and the accompaniment of life passages. So it's different concept of what the midwives were talking about, what give meaning for them of being a midwife. So we learn in books that, about normal, pathologic, but there's also the existential part of reality. So midwives who are not convinced, but for them, midwifery is about welcoming life, about whatever it develops and unfolds in a life situation. Usually it's a joyful event, but life is not just about that. And I will not talk more about that. So how to assess the invisible yet fundamental part of midwifery, what is making it unique and meaningful. So I just want to share with you things that we do. Sometimes, not all the times, in a university, in clinical placement too. So it's being, when we want to discuss and share, we use circle because it's a clearly feminist pedagogy, and it creates a safe space where no one is superior to the other. So it contributes to the create a safe space to be tolerant for contradictions, opposite, paradox, but also making connection. We are together because at beginning in the university, it's a typical classroom, bench, ranks, and then the teachers in the front, and then the other are taking notes and all that. It is what Paulo Freire was talking about, the banking education. Students don't know a lot of things, but the teacher knows, and then he just puts in them knowledge and other things. And another way to share the being of being a midwife is sharing stories, because in stories it can be the hold the treasure of understanding midwifery paradigm. We can see transformative moments. There's a way to a profound knowing about women and birth and couple and bodies, women bodies, and all that. So and sharing stories, it means we are a group. It can create a collective knowledge. There's something new in that, because it's not in the books. It's like lived experience shared, and it's part of the people who are sharing the stories, but telling about what what happened, and it helped to get attention to the processes in a world or context that we share. We want results. All that, is it effective, efficient, and all that. And it's known that for midwives, the process are almost the same importance as the results, and it can help us to understand the relation with uncertainty. Other things that can be useful with assessment of the being of being a midwife is feedbacks, taken as gifts along the path of becoming a midwife. So how can it can be like that? So the preceptor is not just verifying if the student is able to have success in having the objective. She can give feedbacks all the way along and help the students, to feedback is not an evaluation. It's just giving the emotions and reflections. So it's a good thing, and it's about women who are one of the most important educator of professionals, because we're there for them. So I will share you a good quote later, but it's not about satisfaction of the client, because then we're in a consumer way of being together. So it's about talking for women, talking about their lived experience, and give advice to the student who want to become a midwife. She's in the middle of that. So it's very touching when we started that. It's not everywhere, but when women are not just saying, "Oh, I'm satisfied," or "I'm satisfied," they say, "How this I found it hard. This I am so I'm so touched because you were there. I felt that your confidence and all that." So this is it's precious. And there's a number here, 360. So it's a full circle of feedbacks in a clinical placement, other midwives, preceptors, the administrator, maybe doctors, maybe when there's a transfer, we're asking feedbacks about this particular student from everywhere she was present. And this is it's a powerful because it goes from a different perspective, and it can help her to figure out what she radiant or not. She can be very skillful, but people don't feel. They feel she's maybe prescriptive or different things. So it's very precious. And we can also learn by reflection and reflexivity in the program, building a culture of reflexive practice, and being a reflexive practitioner is more and more important. And practice, in birthing centers, but in team of midwives. And it's a way for the student to know herself, and we encourage them to do journaling, uh, keep regularly. And I just finished to read the reflection and of student midwives about some events that were important for them, and how did she feel, what did she learn, what was her way of learning, and what she want to keep that for the future of a profession. And it's amazing how I can see and feel uh, the that she is becoming a midwife. So it's not about measuring things. And I want to share to you what is the challenge of that, assessing the being a midwife. Whoa, it's not easy. So we need to explore, the deconstruction of banking education, which is, I don't know who said that, but students are the first to ask us, okay, give me what I need to study, and I will study, and I will learn by heart, and you give me an examen, and I crash all the knowledge, and that's it. They are used to that. So in the university, it's different. We need to build professionals being able to have, clinical reasoning and professional judgment, and being autonomous. So it's not being passive and asking for answers. So we need to deconstruct also the performance culture, the predominance of numbers, measuring all the things, over-reliance reliance on measures, objectivity. And we need to explore the place of practical wisdom and reflections in the journey to, form a midwife, not just competent, but what is the meaning of being competent? Um, so we need to explore the limits of simulation, which is very, very, very popular, but can we practice relationship? Can we practice dialogue? You know, we have to see the limit of that. We have to meet the challenges of the transmission of a paradigm. We have to explore the notion of success, of competency, and because they want to have their, you know, their certification and all that, diploma, that's okay. So it can be just a technical way to practice. It's not bad, but if we want to transmit the specificity, it's a big challenge. And we have to explore the importance of the gaze of the person who is observing the student. If the notion of being patient with nature, being able to tolerate uncertainty, the notion of guardianship, of the holding space when you you are with a woman in labor and with the families there. So if it's important, you will be attentive as a preceptor to talk to the students about that, you know, to verify. But if it's not that important for you, then it will not be in your. You will not pay attention to those items of specificity of midwifery. So other challenges is, you know, we don't have to choose what kind of evaluation or assessment or traditional alternative. It's good, but it's not. We don't have to choose. But and I see that for all the other presentation, there's so many other ways, rich and dynamic and very even the joy of learning that can help and guide a student in her or his journey to become a midwife. So it's not about one or the other, it's one and the other. And creativity is very alive. I feel it here today. So if we want to do a formation to a relational practice, we need to have relational assessments too. If the midwife is caring for the whole pregnant person, the teaching we need to teach to the whole student. If a midwife has to support the being of childbirth, we need to support the being of midwifery. If midwifery is about being there for women, the teachers have to being there for students too. It's like we will transmit what is important when you do midwifery by doing it with you. So this is a real challenge. You know, if we just asking questions, we look for solution and response and, you know, recipe and all that. And students are often asking for that. We can ask questions, but we can also raise questions and then explore collectively the world of reflections. And then it can open to the world of reflection is open to the ones engaged in evolving and accompany the becoming midwives, you know, the students. I just share a few quotes here. It is that Paul Lewis says, "No midwife can be a midwife without working with and learning from women." That's why part of the feedback we were asking to women after the birth, and even for the husband or partner, because we consider them as teacher to midwives. And there was a beautiful quote of Sheila Katzinger. In all cultures, the midwife's place is on the threshold of life, where intense human emotions, fear, hope, longing, triumph, and incredible physical power enable a new human being to emerge. Her vocation is unique. So as you can see, is you don't see that in books of obstetric. And Einstein said that not all that matters can be measured, and this is the point. How can we assess? I don't know if it's measure. I don't have answers. I just put the my question about assessing the being of being a midwife. Um, but I think it's a good question. And as midwives and teacher in the university, this is a serious and important matter for the future of midwifery. So this is what I wanted to share with you. And thank you, merci beaucoup. Those are my email, professional and personal too.
Thank you, Céline, so much. It was very inspiring. You know, you say you ask questions, but you really have provoked, so I think, so much thinking. I just wanted to share my takeaways from what you have said. You know, that apply regardless of the discipline, I think, really, regardless of what we're teaching. That notion of the primacy of relationships, I think, was a really important message in the alternative assessment forum. What gives meaning to practice? How do you move beyond knowledge, skills, attitudes to another place? It's a very interesting question. The deconstruction of banking education, the importance of the gaze of the person who is, you said, who is observing or who is assessing, I think, the toleration for uncertainty and guardianship and all of that. And when you ask the question, how do we practice dialogue? How do we practice relationships and healthcare studies are really, I think, essential question. The teaching of the whole student, and of course, and how you finish. Not all that matters can be measured. I think, yeah, very inspiring and thought-provoking. And, you know, I could imagine that teams of faculty teams could sit and talk about those questions in their space and produce sort of worthwhile conversation and worthwhile change. Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me.